Good afternoon, Fargo City Commissioner Tony Gehrig with your How I Voted for the July 27, 2020 Fargo City Commission meeting. I'm on Facebook Live, and I'm also taping for the website. Three issues on this agenda, kind of interesting. It was kind of a different agenda. The first issue that popped up that was on the consent agenda and then was removed from consent. It was either by Arlette or myself. I don't remember who removed it. It might have been her. It was an ordinance relating to fighting. So right now, if the cops come across two people who are throwing fists and neither one wants to press charges, or neither one is being attacked necessarily, but they're just mutually in combat, I guess, it's not really against the law at this point. The police see that as a problem because they can't, arrest people and remove the problem. They can't do a whole lot. Their hands are kind of tied if it's mutual and no one's really being attacked or assaulted. So they wanted to make it illegal to do that. My argument back was, I've got an older brother, and I wondered that if in college when we were messing around, if a cop happened upon us, that we'd be arrested for that when neither one of us were trying to hurt necessarily the other one or whatever else. If you have an older or younger brother, or even a sister, I suppose, these things do happen. And while it's not necessarily normal, if there's no victim, then how is there a crime being committed? I guess was my quote during the meeting. And Arlette had a similar kind of stance that we're kind of creating criminals out of otherwise law-abiding people, even though we don't want to see fighting breaking out in the town. I'm not saying that's a good thing, but do we want to make criminals out of people who do that? And there's no real crime being committed. So the vote was very interesting. I voted to deny the request to draft an ordinance to make fighting illegal. Arlette seconded that motion. There was debate. Dave and the mayor obviously wanted that to be drafted, so they voted against that. John also voted against that. So more discussion, more questions to the police officers, more questions, inside the commission to each other, really. And Dave made the motion to draft an ordinance making that illegal. The mayor seconded that motion by giving up the gavel. So we had a vote. Arlette and I voted against drafting it, and Dave and Tim voted for it, and then John voted against drafting it. In essence, agreeing with the first motion. So because there was no direction given to the city attorney to draft an ordinance, nothing was done. So it was denied in a way, but it just really was never. It was just kind of nothing happened because none of us could agree on a motion to move forward. So it just dies for no action. So I guess it's still legal to punch your brother in public. I don't know if you want to do that. I don't recommend it, by the way. A TIF. We talked about this in the last video. They were receiving a Renaissance zone exemption, and now they're receiving a TIF. Tax increment financing, which means when they pay their taxes, the money goes right back to them in order to do improvements on that area. So they're, in essence, not paying taxes because it just goes right back in their pocket to make that land better. Again, it was a 3-2 vote. John and I voted against it. We should be incentivizing apartments, people. We have plenty of them. If you want to build an apartment anywhere in Fargo, you can do that. It will fill up. They're abundant, and we don't need to be as residents incentivizing something that's already happening naturally all over the city at a pretty dramatic rate. There were a ton of apartment complexes and units built in 2020, permits pulled for them in 2021. We do not need to be incentivizing these things. It's a waste of your taxpayer dollars. All right, liquor control. So I'm on the liquor control board, which means that we give the licenses out, we renew them, we take them away if you're a bad actor. We give penalties, and that all goes to the city commission, by the way, but we make the recommendations to do these things. This was an interesting one. If you have an FA license, which is a classic, restaurant license, think of Applebee's, think of, Spicy Pie, think of any restaurant out there that sells beer, liquor, and wine. This is what they have, an FA license. It's about $100,000 in the city of Fargo for this license. The caveat to this is you must have more food sales than liquor sales. If you have 1 penny more of food sales, you're within compliance. If you have 1 penny more of liquor sales, you are not in compliance, and therefore you risk fines, you risk shutdowns, and you risk losing your license. I find that to be arbitrary. Okay, I find that to be a way around not having more bar licenses. We only have 17 bar licenses in the city of Fargo. It is artificially reduced because some people believe that if we have more licenses, there will be bars everywhere and everything will be a bar. We already have 400 plus places where you can drink in the city of Fargo. I don't know that having more licenses would do anything, quite frankly. And that's a greater discussion for another day, I suppose. But as it were, the Southtown Poorhouse, they are basically a bar. They operate as a FA license, as a restaurant bar combo. Okay, here's the rub. They have one side of their building that is the bar. They have another side that is Dwayne's Pizza, and there's other food and things in there as well. But what they were doing is they were using Dwayne's Pizza House, and then they would make that pizza. They'd go to the other side of the building, and they would give you your pizza, and they would count that towards their sales of food. And then they were selling a lot of liquor. Well, if you removed the pizza from that equation, they would not be in compliance. They had way more liquor sales than they had food sales if you remove the pizza from that. So it's a gray area, right? It hasn't really happened before. We see this around town. I think in South Fargo, it's Frank's has a spicy pie attached to it. You can order a spicy pie pizza, and they can deliver it into the bar for you, and that works for them. They obviously sell other food as well. But what's the rub? What do we get to do about this? Well, personally, I said at the meeting, I believe this is arbitrary anyway. So why are we making a big deal out of an arbitrary law? However, we do have laws, and if we are going to have that law in place, which I want to get rid of, by the way, but it's still there currently. So that means we have to enforce it. So basically, I think what happened going forward was we're going to enforce the law going forward. I don't think that anyone should lose their license over this. But going forward, if we're going to have this on the books, let's have it on the books. But in the meantime, let's talk about how to fix it, because it's not a good law, in my opinion. It causes more problems than anything else. And I think it's a workaround for people to say, well, it's not a bar, it's a restaurant. Okay, people are still drinking, and there's no shortage of places to drink in Fargo. So we need to open up our market and allow the free market to dictate how many bars, how many restaurants, how many tap houses, how many breweries are in Fargo. And we'll know that happens when they start going out of business, and they haven't done that yet, minus the COVID-19 pandemic. So if you have questions about the July 27th Fargo City Commission meeting, email me, call me. My phone number is on the website, Facebook, Twitter, whatever. Parlor, not so much anymore. But watch how we're spending your tax dollars. Thanks for watching.